My darlings, my dears, take off your slippers, find your way to your mat, and come into a comfortable seat. I'm not going to sing the whole class. That would be something different. Yin Yoga, the opera. No, but seriously, maybe shake and wiggle. And let's do a couple shoulder rolls today. So just lift your shoulders and pull them back and drop them down, and do that about 3 times. And then see if you can reverse the circle. Whew. And then come into a comfortable, I told you you're ready to come into a comfortable seat, so you're probably there, but bring your hands together. Root down to the earth, lift up towards the heavens. Close your eyes and feel how immediately when you close your eyes, you have access to this vastness, this incredible space that we can find on the interior of our being. Maybe dedicate your practice to someone, or maybe you want to dedicate your practice to world peace. And let's sound 3 ohms. Empty your breath. Take a deep inhale. And then relax your hands down, and we're going to find our way into butterfly today. So bring the bottoms of your feet together, and you might even notice that as your knees drop out, the bottoms of your feet kind of look like butterflies. Lift up your chest. Take a nice inhale, looking upward, and then with your exhale, soften down into the posture as much as it makes sense for you. You can adjust your feet, making sure they're 2 hands length away from your groin. And then remind yourself that we're doing a yin practice. So intentionally start to soften into the shape that you found. Take a full inhale and just sigh out your breath while you're in the pose. So today we're, as I said, focusing on the spleen and stomach yin series. So that's what we're going to be, noticing in our body, though you realize you can't really feel your stomach unless it's in pain. And we definitely don't feel our spleen, again, unless it's like you're being stabbed there or something. So the attention more is to your physicality and to the qualities of earth, and to knowing, that we not only need to breathe air and drink water, but we need to eat food, which is a little bit curious that we don't, we can drink water, we can breathe air, but we don't eat dirt. I mean, sure, in our first couple of years, we eat a lot of dirt. But we eat something that's been refined and is dependent on soil to grow. And while we're in our practice, we can also notice where we are in the cycle of the year. We're a day, 2 days away from the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, thereby the fall equinox in the southern hemisphere. And then we can notice, maybe we even have awareness of what is happening up in the heavens or in the sky and the movement of the planets. And we are in Venus retrograde. We're about 18 days in of a 40-day cycle. We're in Mercury retrograde. About 5 days into a 28, 27, 29-day cycle. Knowing that it's right before the equinox, we know the sun is about to move from the last degrees of Pisces into the first degrees of Aries. And then start to roll up. And take your right leg behind you. So we're setting up for deer pose. Now, it looks a little bit like you make an S shape with your legs. So you have your left heel in front, your right heel behind. To make it more gentle for your body, you bring your heels closer to your spine to make it a little bit more sensation-full. I guess it would be sensational. You take your feet, a little further away from your spine. And then twist a couple times. So we're doing, a spring fairy dance. And then twist towards your left knee, taking your right hand to your left knee, your left hand supporting you. Lift up actively a little bit taller, and then twist maybe a couple more degrees, and then start to soften the pose by moving your hands further away from your thigh and maybe letting your elbows come down to the ground. Letting your head hang. Do the small adjustments you need to make this pose fit for your body today. Now, so far, if I've talked about the where the sun is, that we're in a Venus retrograde, that we're in a Mercury retrograde. This is pretty, I'm not going to say common knowledge, but for those of us who are following astrology, it's pretty like, okay, I got that. That's pretty first layer. The moon, which is, of course, so close to us, moves the fastest for us through the zodiac. And today, the moon is in the sign of Virgo, otherwise known as Scorpio. It is in the sign of Scorpio today. Had to put my glasses on. And maybe you even know that tomorrow there is a joining of the Sun and Neptune, as Neptune is reaching its final days in Aries before it goes and dips, its final days in Pisces before it dips into Aries, where it has not been for 165 years. And we can think of when any planet joins the sun, it's as if the archetype of that planet is being reborn, renewed. Which if we just let that play in your imagination a little bit, so tomorrow is the 19th, and then 10 days before Neptune is leaving Pisces to move into Aries, leaving the last sign of the zodiac to move into the first sign of the zodiac, it's being reborn. Now start to walk your hands back towards you. Lift up and just do a small counter twist to your right. And then you're going to bring your left foot to the floor and lift up so we can prepare for dragon pose. So you're going to put your left foot on the floor. You're going to slide your right leg back. And we're going to start by doing overstepping dragon. It sounds like a dragon who can't keep their boundaries. But what it means in yin yoga is that you're going to allow your left knee to reach beyond your ankle, which is not actually an action that we take very often. But what you feel is that you're stretching your left Achilles heel. And we're not going to stay in this variation for 5 minutes, just a little while. And then walk your hands a little further back to release a little bit out of the pose before we turn this overreaching dragon into baby dragon. So baby dragon wings. So you're going to let your toes turn out about 45 degrees to your left and let your knee flop open. And yogi's choice, either you stay here with your arms lifted, or you can walk your hands a little further forward and drop your elbows down. Let your head hang. Notice the stretch. So the cycle of the sun renewing something is one that we're actually quite familiar with. As every evening we go to bed after the sun is set, most likely, depending, maybe not if you live way north. But we go to bed and we sleep, and something happens where we get to find out in the morning that we are somehow restored, refreshed, even if we're lucky, when the sun rises again in the morning. Now start to walk your hands back towards you, and you're going to toe heel your left foot to your right wrist, allowing your left knee to come down to the floor, setting up for swan pose. In this series, we stay for quite a while with our chest lifted. Before we lie down onto the floor. So feel that you're stretching your right leg through your right big toe. You might even find that this is like your 6th yoga class today. And you can walk your hands back towards you because your spine is like, yay! Or maybe you need to have your hands a little bit further in front of you, but you make the right adjustments for your body. We also feel a similar cycle, really, when the sun makes it through winter and comes out of the other side of winter to spring. Even though the sun doesn't disappear in winter per se, there's renewed force in the sun as we enter spring that begins to be reflected in the ground, reflected in the earth. And then start to walk your hands, transforming your swan into a sleeping swan. Either stretching your hands far away from you or stacking your forearms to create a little pillow for yourself. And as it happens, with esoteric knowledge, we understand that even in our time between death and rebirth, we have this cycle that actually renews us as well. So as we die and we excarnate, we move up through the planetary spheres, all the way eventually to the sun, and then back. Down through the spheres to come into a new life. The sun is such a central part of life between birth and death, and between death and birth. And in esoteric Christianity, the sun is really coupled together with the being of the Christ. First it was Ahura Mazda, the being from beyond the sun, that Zarathustra pointed out, was approaching the earth. And it's a little bit of a I don't want to say like it's not a joke, but it's kind of interesting that in English, with your ear, you can't distinguish between sun and sun. In German, at least, it's Sohn und Sonne. They're close, but they're not indistinguishable. But that there is these like open mysteries in this connection. That the sun engenders life, restores, renews, refreshes us. Even through the days of the week, it's Sunday that traditionally was taken as the day of rest. And start to walk your hands back towards you. You're going to tuck your right toes under. And today we're going to shift back onto our right knee and wiggle our left leg straight, coming into a little bit of a Hanumanasana. By a little bit of a Hanumanasana, I mean you can keep your hips over your knee, straightening your left leg. If you're super, excited and flexible, feel free to stretch your left leg long in full Hanumanasana, or on your way to Hanumanasana, where you keep the weight in your fingertips. Allow your breath to travel to the places that feel tight. Noticing that with your breath, you often bring warmth and a little bit of a tension there, like a little bit of your inner sun. And then bring the weight into your hands and slide your left leg next to your right leg, toes tucked, and sit down onto your heels into toes pose. A little bit like being in the sun. At first, when you come into toes pose, it's like nice and pleasant, maybe a slight little burn. But as we stay, it gets more intense. So notice how you react to that intensity. It's a little burning, a little warming, a little pleasant, a little not so much. And then bring your hands to the ground in front of you. Slap out your feet. So adding a little drama like Leo, the sign ruled by the sun. And then rock your weight back towards your heels, stretching the tops of your feet. And then you're going to bring your right knee in front And come down onto your buttocks. Your left foot is behind you, so it looks like a backwards S. You can make adjustments, taking your heels closer to your spine for more ease, taking your heels further away for a more challenging variation. And again, do a little dance. And then start to allow your dance to be twisting. And then twist to your right thigh, bring your left hand to your knee, lift up your chest, pulling your belly in, get active in the twist, and then start to soften, sliding your hands away from your right thigh, bringing your elbows down to the ground. So both with water and with air, there's something that we don't really take into account until it's wrong or extreme. And that is, with air, we're actually very dependent on what temperature the air is to be able to breathe it in. Think about how even if we get super cold, like if you're doing like Wim Hof, like cold plunges, like that shock, and I struggle to take in the breath. Or think about when you're in a really hot space, the difference in breathing. So there's a window of temperature that the human being can breathe in. Same with water. I mean, that's a little bit more obvious, isn't it? If you're like, I'd love a glass of water, and someone hands you a cup full of ice, you're like, that's not what I wanted. But it's water. It's what you asked for. Or, steam. Again, same thing. But you don't drink it. It doesn't nourish the body. It doesn't feed the body. It's help give sustenance to the body. It has to be within this window of what is the right temperature for us to take it in. Now, no matter what temperature that you heat soil to, it doesn't become edible. However, in its complexity, the earth element does include the things that we eat. But in order for the things that we eat to grow, it requires that not only is there a certain amount of light for the thing to grow, but there's a window of temperature, of warmth, that is optimal for the thing to grow. And there are things that will not grow if they don't have the right amount of warmth, despite getting lots of light. So we see that while we experience that we can separately get, water, air, or food, all three of those are affected by warmth, by the element of fire. Just as life happens at a certain temperature and will not happen above or below that window that it's optimal. So when it comes to warmth, it's easier for us to understand the connection to fire and its presence, fire's presence in that experience. But in water and in air, it's not really, we don't really think of it. We don't really notice it. We pretend like that's not a thing. In food, in the sustenance that we get from the earth, it's a little bit more of a thing. Now start to walk your hands back towards you and do a little counter twist to your left. And release and step onto your right foot. And first we're going to start by stretching our left foot back and coming into overreaching, overstepping the little dragon with boundary issues. Overstepping dragon. And feel the stretch not only in your Achilles heel, but also the front of your other leg. In this case, your left leg, front left hip flexor. What's cool is when you look at the elements with this in relationship to each other. You know, water can be like earth, frozen, solid. We've walked over lakes. Water can be like air when it gets warm enough, it becomes steam. If you've ever slid down or surfed on a sand dune, you know that earth can even act like water. Not being stable, landslides, quagmires, quicksands. And then inhale, bring your hands back a little bit and adjust your right foot. So you bring the foot out to 45 degrees and let your knee drop out to the side. Bringing your hands to the inside and either staying here on your palms or walking your arms forward and resting down onto your elbows. We even intellectually, at least, understand that in the air there are particles. There are elements that belong to the earth. The case is a little bit more challenging with air, but we know we can compress air. Air can be a surface that we rest on, usually in containment, so we don't get to sit in clouds, but we can sleep on air mattresses. And then walk your hands back and toe heel your right foot to your left wrist, bringing your right knee down on the outside of your right hip, stretching your left toes back, and staying lifted in swan pose. But the fire element is unique. Okay, maybe you've had the joy of walking on coals, doing some fire walking. But still, it's the earth matter that you're walking on, even if they're glowing red. The fire is something different. And symbolically, it's connected to spirit. Similarly, not the same, but very similar, of how the Christ is connected to the sun. And even when we can't perceive it, try to deny it. Spirit is there. A little bit like how the warmth of fire element is in the air we breathe and the water we drink, and critical for the food we grow. Start to walk your hands forward, coming into sleeping swan. I am going to read a poem that I haven't read in a while, but may be familiar to you. And I have the English translation. I think it might be time for me to hunt down the German translation, the German original version. But for today, in English, The Holy Longing by Goethe. Tell a wise person, or else keep silent, because the masked man will mock it right away. I praise what is truly alive, what longs to be burned to death. In the calm water of love nights, where you were begotten, where you have begotten, a strange feeling comes over you when you see the silent candle burning. Now you are no longer caught in the obsession with darkness, and a desire for higher lovemaking sweeps you forward. Distance does not make you falter. Now arriving in magic, flying and finally insane for the light, you are the butterfly and you are gone. As long as you haven't experienced this, to die and so to grow, you are only a troubled guest on the dark earth. I had a beautiful conversation today with a friend. Where they related to me a pretty, I'm going to say, special or holy experience. And they described to me their realization that between two human beings, we talk to each other with words. And that way we have this like mental, intellectual understanding. But in the truly important conversations, we can feel that there is something that is communicating between our beings that is above our words. Bypassing the intellectual understanding of a matter to experiencing it. And then start to walk your hands back towards you. And we're going to do the Hanumanasana. So bring your right foot on the ground and then slide your heel forward, lifting up your toes, sliding your hips back so you're lining up your hips over your left knee. If that's too intense, you can also go lower and bring your buttocks towards your left heel. Or if you want to move towards full expression of Hanumanasana, keeping the weight in your hands to get there, that protects you, find your way to extend both of your legs. Aiming to have both of your legs fully extended and your chest lifting up. And then find your way out of the pose, transitioning on, like I just pulled my hips back and then brought my left leg around in front of me. So both of my feet are in front of me. And reach your fingertips, pull your belly towards your spine. And just as a little bit of an abdominal moment, pretend we're in slow motion and see how controlled you can be as you lay your upper body down to the ground and then stretch your legs long. Roll onto your left outer thigh and the left side of your body and stretch your left leg out to nowhere. Stretch your right leg, that's the top leg. We're going to come into pulling the cat's tail. So you're going to stretch your top leg out and then bend your bottom leg and hold onto your heel. Yes. Now, if you're feeling feisty, maybe you hold on to your left toes as well. I have a wall in this direction. So I'm just going to flip sides. I didn't guide you into it very well. If you're not familiar with the pose and you're confused, you're on the side of your on the side of your left thigh. Bending your left thigh, pulling your left heel to your buttocks. You can have your hand either underneath your shoulder or laying your shoulders all the way onto the ground. And then the bonus part was you can hold on to your right toes with your left hand, which is technically ninja star. Even on cloudy days, the sun has risen and is illuminating the world. But it's hard to remember that, to experience the sun when it's veiled, when it's cloudy. But unceasingly, the sun rises again. And then release your cat's tail. Roll onto your back. And we're going to take the other side by rolling onto our right thigh, stretching our left leg out from our left hip, reaching back with our left hand, pulling our right heel to the buttocks. You can feel a stretch in the belly of the right thigh. Either keep your hand underneath your head or reaching your shoulders to the ground. And for the final little cherry on top, if you'd like, you can hold on to your left toes. We can find even thinking and remembering that the sun is present, that the sun has this renewing quality. Thinking about how in each individual that we meet, they have a sun quality. They have a spirit. A destiny that's not separate from the destiny of earthly evolution, of human evolution. It can warm us towards the day, or it can warm us towards them. So just like we can actually lift up our feelings of love on purpose, without falling in love, without blood connection. It can be a renewing force, like the sun, activating our heart energy, activating that part of us that is already holy, sacred, divine. And start to roll back onto, releasing the pose, coming back onto your back. And just a cathartic twist, we're going to hug our knees in. Rock back and forth, massaging your lower back. like essentially we just did a twist in the cat's, pulling the cat's tail. But just to round off our practice, maybe that's a great idea. You rock back and forth in your spine, bringing warmth there. And then drop both your knees to your left. Take a full inhale. And just sigh it out. And then bring your knees back to center. Drop your knees to the other side. Take a full inhale. And sigh it out. And then stretch yourself into Shavasana, into corpse pose. Covering yourself with a blanket, feel free to put something over your eyes if you have a hard time keeping them closed. With your next inhale, start to invite your awareness back to the edges of your body. And just for a moment, ponder where you were. With your next inhale, stretch your body long, reaching your arms up over your head, your feet away from your hands. And then with your exhale, curl into a ball and roll over onto your right hand side. And then help yourself up into a comfortable seated position. Bring your hands to heart center. If you dedicated your class to someone specific, lift up an image of them. Or if you dedicated your class to world peace, imagine the earth glowing like a sun. Empty your breath. Take a deep inhale. We're going to close with one Om. Bring your prayer hands to your third eye. Invite the divine light. And as we bow forward, together we say, Namaste. And so much love. Woo! Yeah. Thank you so much for your practice. And may your sun be bright.